my phone or Mark's phone if you've got a question or anything about what we're talking about. That would be super great and super good. Okay. Let me go on here just so that I can see if there's any questions. Why haven't I got the link? Because I haven't clicked on it, that's why. There we go.
If you want to learn how to deal with change and how to be in the zone, this is the place for you, because we're all learning how to deal with change.
Right now. In the present moment.
In the moment.
We're actually learning how to deal with change right now.
But it's all okay.
Oh gosh. Oh yeah. Okay, cool. Right. So what are we talking about today, Mark?
Bethel looks like a geek with that laptop on.
I'm like,
you don't need the laptop.
I don't need it. I need the laptop to see if somebody asks a question.
Oh yeah.
Then I can say so-and-so's asked a question. By the way, we can't see you, so don't feel like you're going to be seen. If you're there watching, then we can't see you. So don't worry. Okay. So what are we talking about then?
Well, I think the first thing that we want to do, because this is a podcast, it's live, we can start by praying because it's slightly different.
Okay.
So
not a church service though.
No, it's not.
About
it's not. So Bethel, you can pray for us.
Oh wow. On the spot. Okay, Lord, we just thank you for this time. It's the first time we've done a live podcast, and we just pray that you'll be with us and that we'll be able to relax and share some of our learning, and we hope that it will bless some people who are listening. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I was just trying to gauge Bethel's spirituality then by listening to her pray, just to see where she's at. That's why I asked her to pray.
Rude. That's just rude.
That is a joke. But anyway, welcome again. It's great to have you, those of you who've been able to join. So today we just wanted to be talking about change. We thought we'd do it this way because we were trying to get rid of the whole editing process, which I think is going to work out pretty well.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be talking about change, how we're dealing with change. Well, first of all, what changes you've gone through and how we're dealing with change.
Yeah.
So
first change, having a second baby. What changes have that brought to us?
So change on every level, because obviously we happen to accommodate an extra person in our family. So that means we have to change every single routine.
Literally every single
routine to meet with the need of another person. So our whole lives have been reoriented so that we can actually fit in this bundle of joy. We cannot. Not for trying even begin to look after themselves.
No.
So they need all of us to have all hands on deck.
I think this morning I was literally like having the worst morning because Rhea is poorly again, or by God's grace should be well because we prayed. And so she was up like 3 or 4 times.
What does a worse morning look like?
Oh, she was up 3 or 4 times in the night yesterday, which meant I was up at like 4 o'clock, couldn't get back to bed. So I was shattered by the time my Kazeth woke up.
By the way, by the time when Bethel wakes up, she wakes up the whole house normally. Yeah, she woke up, I woke up. So
how do I wake up the whole house?
But then I'm just thinking, because
what does that mean?
Well, in the sense that, you know, when somebody's sitting next to you and they start tossing and turning, naturally you're gonna end up waking up. You're like, are you awake? Oh, yes, I am awake.
I wake the whole house up because I'm just like, well, I'm up, everybody's getting up, right? No, not usually. Only when I'm tired.
Not really, yeah.
So today I was tired and I was just like, oh my gosh. And then, you know, when like your oldest child just doesn't want to listen to you at the right time. So literally wouldn't put on his shoes, wouldn't change, wouldn't do anything.
Is this when I was getting ready to go to school?
Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you need to get out of the house in like 15 minutes. So it's been hectic. And I was sat there going, oh my goodness, every single thing has just changed. Like the bedtime routines, the morning routines. Now Rhea's going to nursery twice a week. So that's another change. Whilst it's a positive change for me because it gives me time, it's also really, really difficult because I'm like, okay, we need to get her out of the house by 8, like all these things. So even if she's sleeping, it's like, okay, we've got to wake her up at this time, get her ready, get her dressed, go out. It's a lot of different things going on. But I was reminded about the quote that you said about change, and if you're not ready for the change, well, something about if you don't accept the change when it comes, your body gets depressed because what was that?
So it's not actually my quote. I read it in a book somewhere. I have to remember the book, but it was talking about how whenever you're supposed to be going through a period of change, if you, for whatever reason, refuse to move with the change, you will stay in a state of limbo. And that state of limbo is what puts you in a depression.
Yeah.
So the person was explaining what depression is when you're supposed to be moving on, but you're refusing to move on for whatever reason. It might not even be a conscious decision, but you're not quite ready to move on. And that puts you in a state of depression.
Yeah, I really think that is so powerful because not that I'm in a state of depression, but there are days like this morning where I didn't want to move on. I didn't want to wake up. I just want to sleep. Like, what is this life? You know, and every part of me just was like, go back to bed, go back to bed. But then you've got two little ones who need you to do everything. Literally everything. And then when the older one is changing, like I literally laid out all his clothes, everything was sorted, like literally from the socks to the underwear, everything was there, right? All he had to do was just put it on. That's all. So now when I think he's done and I'm putting on his shoes, I'm like, you know, I was tucking in his shirt and I noticed he hadn't had his underwear on. And I'm like,
I remember she lost it at that point. And it was quite funny because I'd already asked him to do that, but for whatever reason he didn't do it. So yeah, that's just lost it. It's like, and you haven't even put on your underpants. Come on.
So yeah, I did actually apologize to him after school when I picked him up because I was like, guys, can you hear? If you can, I don't know if you can give the thing a thumbs up. I hope you can hear.
Sounds actually fine.
Well.
You can tell.
But yeah, so I did apologize to him when I picked him up from school because I just said, look, I
think okay, go on. No, I'll ask you something.
Yeah, I just said Mum was tired this morning and it made it a little bit more tricky when you weren't listening the first time.
Yeah.
And I had to repeat myself several times. And then that frustrated me, you know. But I've been reflecting about that and I'm like, you know, I don't want to be that mum who just loses my stuff all the time. Like
loses her rat.
You know, I need to be like balanced and learn. Even when I'm tired, like, how do I tap into that inner peace and be like, goose fraba?
Well, I guess the question is, what's happening in that moment when you're losing your rag? What is it about that moment that makes you do that?
That's a good question. I feel overwhelmed.
Okay.
I feel really overwhelmed and I feel like, I don't know, the world is caving in on me. At those specific moments, because it's like you think you've planned everything, right? And this is the thing about kids.
That's a good point.
You think you've planned everything. You're like, nothing could go wrong. This is a foolproof, you know, plan. Like this is going to be fine. And then
something happens in your life.
Rhea wakes up in the middle of the night with the runny nose from nowhere, and it's like, oh right, okay, I didn't plan for that. So one thing I was talking to April, I think, but I need to start planning in. What's the word? Spontaneity. Room for spontaneity or room for change, essentially. Because with children, you can, as I said, you can plan as much as you want, but they might just wake up poorly. You know, they might just not want to move that day. And then you have got to be that, let's go, let's do this, let's move, all of that for them. You know?
I think it's also interesting to think of, I'm not moving away
checking phones just to make sure if anybody's texting.
I'm not moving away from the point you just made, which I think is valid, you know, about you haven't planned everything and then all of a sudden things don't go to plan. And there's no wiggle room in there. And I think it's interesting from the kids' perspective, because I'm learning this in uni at the moment. It's like, you know, you've got the rigid parents and then you've got the no boundaries parents. And I think what's quite hard is about being in the middle, because, you know, planning is all about trying to create these boundaries where it's like rigid and it's like, let's do this and it's going to work.
Yeah.
And then no boundaries, he's like, well, I don't know, I don't care. You know, we could be late, we could be whatever.
Yeah, I've done that a few times.
Yeah.
Not, I don't care, we can be late or anything like that. But like, I've done it a few times where I've been like, okay, you know what? Let's just go with the flow. Let's see how the morning goes. And my cousin has been late to school twice on those mornings when I've been like, yeah, it's okay. It doesn't matter. We don't have to force him to go to breakfast club. It's just okay. And I'm literally like, Micah said, as soon as we arrive, you need to take your seatbelt off and jump out the car. Yeah,
And I think
don't
that's the
like
interesting,
that.
that's the interesting part about change, where it's like like you just said, you've got a plan. When they're younger, you know, it's easier for them to follow through with the plan because they don't have much autonomy.
Yeah.
But now when you've got somebody who's disputing with you, who's arguing with you, who's debating things, and constantly just like having to kind of kick back whenever you're trying to get things done,
he's kicking back
that creates a challenge. And that's where, I guess, you know, in thinking about how you address it, it reminds me of the book Who Moved My Cheese.
If you haven't read that book, you need to read that book.
And it really helps that I'm learning this at uni also.
But what is Who Moved My Cheese about? Just very briefly, so people can.
Well, I'm trying to remember the characters, but in the book, it's talking about these two specific characters where they're mice, by the way, whenever change takes place, you've got one character who's willing to look at things from a different perspective, accept and embrace the change. And you've got the other character who's expecting things to go back to the way they were. And so they're refusing mentally and even physically to move on from what things were before.
So what they're doing in the beginning is they're eating cheese. Like they're eating cheese.
Oh, they go and find cheese in a specific place, don't they?
And they're eating the cheese, and it's like, oh, this is good, this is yummy. And then like the one who's looking at change and like thinking about the future notices that the cheese is getting less and less. So he doesn't wait for the cheese to finish. He goes, this is reducing. I need to go out into the maze and find some more cheese. And then the other guy is like, nah, it's okay. There's loads of cheese here. So anyway, he's gone. So I'll just eat the cheese myself and it'll be totally fine. And then he stays. And then obviously, lo and behold,
cheese runs out.
The other guy had gone off a long time ago and he found some cheese somewhere else. And so the other guy comes in later on and he's like, oh yeah, that cheese ran out. It took me such a long time to find this one, right? And the story kind of continues like that. But the point is that if we're like
stuck in the old ways,
we're not going to go out and find more cheese or different cheese and have a new experience.
And I think in thinking about the situation that you just mentioned about, you know, Micah said not wanting to, you know, get dressed and get ready on time. He's growing, he's developing. He's not the same person he was yesterday. He's not. I
don't think he wants to move his cheese. Well, I don't think he wants to go into the maze and find new cheese at the moment.
Well, that's hilarious because I'm thinking, is it about him finding the cheese or is it about us as parents? Because we're the ones that have more control and more power within the situation.
Yeah, but I think he's also missing like the experience of having us all to himself. You know, he does miss that because sometimes he says it. It's like, you give Ray way too much attention, this, that, and the other.
No, granted, I get that, but I'm talking about specifically when he's, you know, got to do something like go to school or, you know, do something that, you know, has to meet with a certain program and it's got to be done at a specific time. Then it's like, actually, you want him to follow through the process of just get ready, you know, do this and then we go. And he's like, actually, I'm going to go in a completely different direction and delay this whole thing.
But I think another thing that happened, like last week, we got ourselves in a bit of a rut because I think we were both tired. We were going to bed at midnight. Don't ask me why we were going to bed at midnight when we have two children, one being 8 months old. And we started using negative reinforcement. So in parenting, there's positive reinforcement, which is if you do this, you'll get this reward. And then there's negative reinforcement. If you do this, we will take away this. Right. So if you know about psychology or anything like that, if you do...
Come on, Dr. Bethel.
I am not a doctor.
Break it down.
This is just from what we've studied ourselves. But if you keep doing the negative reinforcement, you're actually not going to produce the behavior you want to see. You're actually rewarding the behavior you don't want to see by giving him attention, because any attention is a reward to a child. So even if they get attention for the negative, they're still getting attention, right? So it's like if he's kicking up a fuss and you're feeding into that, like, oh, you're throwing a tantrum, I'm taking away your toy, or I'm doing this or whatever. He's like, oh, I'm getting something, you know, because any attention is better than no attention. But then it's more like, oh, I really like it when you listen the first time. Well done. And, you know, then the child wants to listen the first time. Oh, if you listen the first time, mommy's going to give you a sticker. Oh, well done for listening the first time. Here's a sticker. Then that's like a positive reinforcement. Oh, yay, I got a sticker for listening the first time. So I think last week we got ourselves in a rut and we were literally just doing negative reinforcement. And in the end, like, he took away everything out of his room. Because what did he do to you that you took out the stuff from his room?
I think he had, I don't know, I was asking him to change into his pajamas and then he just kind of looked at me and or something.
Yeah, so lately he's doing
one of those sort of things.
Rude pull tongues at you, roll his eyes. He's 5, guys. He's 5. right? He's 5. Yeah. So Marco's just like, all the toys into this bag.
I think what astonished him is I just did it so casually. And I was so calm and collected, and I just collected every single one of his toys, as he was sort of mucking about and do whatever he's doing. Picked them up, put them in the bag, and then just took them all out of the room.
But yeah, so yeah, I think we did kind of pull back from that, and we're like, okay, we need to give more positive reinforcement, because we want to reinforce the behavior we want to see. So that's kind of, this week it's been different. And also the one thing that was good to take away though was the iPad, because that was causing a lot of issues. And so what are we talking about, guys? There's just been so many things going on in our life recently, and we've had to constantly be adapting almost every day. In fact, sometimes 3 times within the day, because it's like, as I said, you plan something and it doesn't work out. So then you got to plan another thing. Okay, that doesn't work out. You got to plan another thing. And it's like having the resilience to keep on changing, or the reflexivity you've been learning about that immunity.
Reflexivity, oh yeah. What is
reflexivity,
Thank you.
Mark? Please
Systemic therapy comes.
help us out, guys. If you have any questions, please, or you want us to talk about more about a specific thing, if you have our private number, you can text us, or you can comment on the YouTube video. Either way is okay. So Mark, what is reflexivity? By the way, no one can see you if you're watching this. I know so many people have asked me that question. Will they see me? No, we can't see you.
So most people are aware of the term reflection, which is all about, when you think over a situation that's already happened, and you think through what happened, how did it make me feel, and possibly next time, if this was to happen again, what would I do about it? But reflexivity is actually going beyond that, where you say, okay, this is what happened, this is how it made me feel, and this is what I'd like to do about it next time. So this is going the extra step where you actually then implement that thing that you said you were going to do about that particular situation. So for example, you open a door, knocks you in the face, and you think, oh, next time when I open the door, when I open the door, I felt pain. And so next time when I open that door, I'll make sure I take a step back and, get the door out of the way so that I can go through without hurting myself. So that's reflexivity, where you're actually then actively change your behavior or pattern to avoid or maybe enhance some feeling.
Yeah. So I guess, how would that apply in this situation and that?
So where we've noticed that actually, I think coming onto something here, where we've noticed that we don't cope best with change when we don't communicate, for example, Bethel might be going through significant change internally because of the weather, because of hormones, because of, whatever it is. I could be going through significant change because of what I've read, my meditations. And so I'm coming at the situation with a totally different viewpoint. So reflexivity is about then, with all of that in mind, how do we then go forward to help the situation? So for us in this case, how do we adapt? It's about communicating more, being on the same page as parents, especially when it comes to parenting, being on the same page. And what that looks like is us having constant communication, oh, this happened, that happened.
Yeah, last week we actually tried that though, because one of the questions I was asked earlier on in the week was, how do you find time for yourselves as a couple when you have children? And in all honesty, you don't find time, you have to make time, because it just doesn't happen. And I was saying to the person, well, if you've got grandparents or best friends or people you trust that you can have your children with, schedule that in, like literally minimum once a month. You need it minimum once a month. If it's for a minimum of 4 hours, where you can just go, if you're going to go for a walk, go for lunch, whatever.
Go for a nap.
Go for a nap.
A power nap. You need it sometimes.
Just sit in the house with no children. Like literally just chill with no children.
Or just sit there and be bored.
Literally. Well,
there's actually empirical evidence to that effect, that sitting there and being bored actually helps your brain. Yeah. Just connecting all of those synapses
to go into your imaginative brain. And that's why people at the moment struggle with imagination and creativity, unless they actually practice things like prayer and meditation and focus and those kind of things. Because we're on our phones, right? We're like this all day, swiping all day.
Well, some are.
Because Instagram has told us what to do with our free time, right? It's told us that we need to be on our phones when we're free.
And by the way, there's a book called Indistractable.
Indistractable. That sounds interesting. But yeah, so last week we tried it, right? We're like, okay, let's spend quality time together. I will say that I enjoyed the quality time that we were spending together. But the problem is that we were having too much fun and we were ending up going to bed late. I think one of the nights we went
late
to
for bed
midnight.
or late for
No, last
was it
week was midnight.
Oh,
I don't know. Why did we go to bed at midnight? What on earth were we thinking? I have no idea.
Last week feels like last year. I have no idea what happened last week. I still even tell you.
How is it Thursday, people?
I don't even know what happened last week. But...
Anywho, so like every night it was like either 10, 11, 12, and it was just too much. And then I said, Mark, I love you and I love spending time with you, but I can't do this anymore. Be sleeping by 9:30, like seriously, it's too much.
But I think coming back to the point, change begins with, especially for those, I don't know, there might be people who've worked in change here. Planning part is really important. So where we've established that, there's this problem, how do you plan for it? Beth is talking about here where, quality time, because that also links into communication. Just planning the time, as you were saying earlier, for your respite, for your downtime, whatever that looks like, just to make sure that one, you're on the same page, and also you're quite clear about what it is that you're going to do, reflexivity, how you're going to address the situation going forward. And
I think if you're new parents as well, and you're watching this, be kind to yourself, especially if it's your first child, and you're just learning stuff as a couple, communicate, tell each other, say, oh my gosh, I miss you. When's the last time we talked? I just feel like we're just changing diapers and feeding baby all day. Just having that communication and saying, yeah, I miss you too, just lets you know that the other person is still there. They still love you. It's just that we're going through significant change.
I had to buy Bethel a tiny little, what is it, keychain and cards that say, you are enough.
Yeah, I feel like that's a topic for is it next week we're going to be talking about health? Right. So next week we're going to be talking about health, but yeah, feeling enough. That's been a huge struggle since baby number 2. Just feeling okay, if you see what's on the other side of the screen, guys, I almost feel like, should we show them what's on the other side of the screen?
Don't you dare.
Oh my gosh. So my parents came to visit us right just before this podcast, which was let's not go there. It was lovely having them, but just before the podcast, I was like, Mark, what? Why do we have visitors before the podcast? It's our first podcast. We've never done this before. Anywho, we're gonna have that discussion after this. But right, my dad was like, so how are you doing? How are things going? And I was like, take a look at the sofa. So the sofa looks great because it's the sofa that's on camera. But if we had a flip screen, we would flip it. We on a laptop right now, so we can't. Yeah.
It's like going into Wonderland. No, honestly, it's not a problem at all. I mean, I think the good thing about all this stuff that you're talking about.
Do you know what? It's just, it gets overwhelming because, again, I had planned okay, we're going to start a nursery. This week is going to be my calm week. I'm going to plan things out. I'm going to schedule things. And then I was like, okay, so we had some of her clothes in the garage, and April, my sister, had indicated before she left again that some of the stuff in there was going moldy. And so I was like, what? Her clothes are in the garage? So I had to go get everything out. And then I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to have to wash everything and make sure it's hygiene cleaned and blah, 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 and go through all the clothes and make sure I chuck away anything that's got any remote mold or whatever. None of the clothes have mold on them because they were packed away securely, but I'm just need to make sure. And that has given me 7 or 8 hours worth of washing to do. That's why I'm saying the sofa behind it, it's just got laundry on it, guys. It's just folded and some that's not yet folded, but it's just a bit chaotic for me. And I'm like, oh, this was supposed to be my week to get things sorted. But this thing happened. And now I've got to sort that first. And then
I guess that's what they call it. That's what they call it, opening a can of worms. Sometimes you think it's just a can, right?
Yeah.
But then you open it and then all these wiggly worms just start popping out from nowhere. But I think if anything, this is why it's important to have moments where you have downtime and you actually recognize and appreciate, how far you've come or what it is that you've accomplished in the time that you've been doing whatever you've been doing. So for example, just being able to actually do those 3 things, which might seem like only 3 things that you've done.
Yeah.
But the fact that you've actually done 1, 2, and 3.
It's true.
You should have enough, give yourself credit for that.
It's very true. I've still been able to go for my walks every day, which is what helps me. So when things just get a lot, I just go for my walk and I'm like, okay. Yeah. And I have done almost all the washing now. And yeah, so It's like what you say about giving yourself small trophies. Like when you've achieved something, give yourself a little trophy. Well done for doing
And
it.
a pat on the back.
Well done for doing the clothes.
Well done, Mark. Well done, Bethel.
Well done, Marco. Anyway, guys, that's currently our life at the moment, going from 1 to 2. I think the sibling relationship is another thing. Like it's developed in that they can play together and they have fun, but then there's some moments when still Micah Seth doesn't know his own strength, and so he'll give these like,
bear hugs,
and she's like, so
get off me, you 5-year-old boy.
I know. So it's all about him learning that. And but other than that, it's been great watching them playing games, and Rhea even starting to initiate some of those games, which is part of her development now. It's just been awesome. So there is some positive things to going from 1 to 2 children. And just Rhea's great, to be honest. She's just awesome. Honestly, she's just one of those children who just learns things very quickly. Like even with her sleep training, everything, it was just so quick. And why are you giving me that look?
Well, because I was just thinking, is it and I know I'm generalizing, so please don't.
Is it a girl thing?
Yeah, because
some boys are brilliant, some people share their stories on there that have like brilliant.
But for the most part, I think
is it
in our circle, I don't know, it could be a second child thing, it could be, there's all so many factors.
Parents are just way more relaxed with the second one. I don't know.
Could be. I don't know. But anyway, you get where I'm going with this. So I don't need to labour the point.
But in all things, we are so blessed to have such wonderful children. And it's really not about the children. And that's why when I was reflecting on the way to school, on Micah's school, I was like, I need to apologize because it's not his fault that I'm feeling this way. He didn't ask to come into the world. I brought him into the world. It's my duty and my responsibility as a parent to make sure that I'm okay for him. Right? It's just that. Yeah.
I was going to say, you mentioned a good point. There's something about when you're going through or experiencing a lot of change, it's good to be grateful for either where you are, where you've been, or where you're going. I find that really helps me sort of configure and calibrate. Just helps ground me and put me in that position where I'm like, actually, phew, I am here because I wanted to be here. For example, you were saying, it wasn't Micah's choice to actually come, God gave him to us as a gift. And he brought him to us, but that's what we wanted. And now that he's here, we have to be grateful for the fact that he's here, even though we're experiencing all of this change that's taking place at the moment. So just being grateful alone actually brings about a different way of thinking and attitude and approach to the whole situation.
Exactly. Just being happy to have healthy, beautiful children.
Well, you start to find solutions when you think positively, I find.
That is so true.
So one of the interesting things, for example, we're talking about how when I was trying to put Micah to sleep and I ended up having to take out all that stuff from his room. What was really interesting is after I took out the stuff from the room.
Sorry, Rue's.
On.
Are you catching up, Rue? I don't know. She probably won't even see this, but she's like, I think she started it from the beginning. She's saying, "Can you see me? Laugh, laugh, laugh." Evening, guys. I joined late. Today was injection day for the little one, so I need that reflexivity.
Reflexivity. I hear you.
Injection day is not good. Injection day is not good. Stay on top of the Calpol, ibuprofen, whatever. I do not know. It's Calpol, isn't it? Whichever one. Your baby's still young. So stay on top of that. Lots of cuddles, skin to skin. Just keep him close, give him lots of love. And also sometimes be wary of the injection spots, because I remembered with Micah Seth, he went off his feeding and I didn't know why. And it was because they had given him a huge bruise. Remember, it was so big. I didn't even notice till probably the third day. I don't know.
It's heart-wrenching.
I didn't think to look.
Which heart goes through that.
So then I had to change my feeding position so that I didn't touch his legs, because he'd scream every time. And I'm like, why are you screaming? I'm trying to comfort you.
Because you're pressing my wound.
Oh my gosh, Micah Seth got hurt today, guys. That just reminded me. Guys, being a parent. It's like you can see something about to happen and you're just like...
It's called risk assessment. My risk assessment is so high. I did say to him, so Mike sort of trying to open a cupboard, which is about, just way above him. And so what he did is he climbed onto the kitchen sink.
No, counter, but the microwave's right there and the kitchen sink is right there, so there's no space.
So he was trying to reach for the cupboard. And I said to him, just as he went to do that, I said, Micah Seth, why don't you just ask? And then, as in, I'm more than happy to help you. And literally, fraction of a second
looked like he was going to come down to me because he turned around and I thought, oh, he's listening. and then he went back up again.
A fraction of a second later, he slipped and blam.
Guys, it wasn't a pretty picture at all, because we have the dishwasher rack, right, which is like metal, or
it is metal.
Yeah, metal, and he just went like
bam
like
into it, like
that, and he's got like a little scar there. I thought, oh my god, the way it happened, I thought, has he broken his jaw? It was like that serious. I was like, oh god, is this an A&E visit?
He'd be okay.
Yeah, but he was okay, because after we iced it for a long time, we gave him Nurofen and stuff, and he got prayed for. And
anyway, coming back to my point, I was making the point about being grateful in the moment actually helps you come up with solutions in a difficult situation. And the reason I'm saying that is because, I give the example of when I was trying to put Mike to sleep, and I ended up taking the toys out. So even though I did that, I still came back to him, and I had a very positive approach to, and attitude to the whole situation. I said, Mike, I said, Daddy expects better from you, and I know you can do it, but at the moment, this is what we're going to have to do. And what I am actually wanting you to do is to try this tomorrow. So that kind of way,
so much better.
And he's done
honestly
well.
So much better. And I do think like taking away the iPad has really, really helped. I saw this video about dopamine, and it was talking about when we were in the caveman days.
This video, I sent it to you.
Oh yeah.
I saw this video.
I forgot that you sent it to me. Okay, I forgot. Right, so Mark sent me this video.
Thank you.
That was about dopamine, but Dad had preached about.
That's called plagiarism.
And I think I put it on my LinkedIn. So if you're on my LinkedIn, I did share it on the LinkedIn. I might put it on the description in this video as well. And it was talking about how in the caveman days, whenever we'd find something like a new food that we could eat, or a new animal that we could eat, the chemical dopamine was released in our brain, right, to tell us this is a good thing. And when we'd meet a new friend,
and that would happen only
occasionally, right?
Rarely, or occasionally,
you're hunting, gathering, and that kind of stuff. But now, when we live in this instant age, instant everything,
gratification,
Amazon next day delivery. Soon there's going to be same day delivery, Deliveroo, Prime, even food shopping, whatever you want, guys. It's at the touch of a button. It's there. You don't have to move. Just bing, 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 bing. And then, of course, we've got smartphones, we've got Instagram, we've got WhatsApp, we've got all kinds of social media going on, guys. And it's literally this, and I'm guilty of it. I actually set timers on my social media because I cannot. Honestly, sometimes I can't get off it because you're just flicking, right? You just scroll, flick, and you don't know, like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour's gone by, right? And it's like, I noticed that the times I'm doing that, I get more angry with the kids. Yeah, I'm just being honest. I do. And I think it's because I'm getting that dopamine.
Hang on, do you see me as one of the kids? Because you sometimes run that.
Sometimes project that.
Project. Thank you. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah, you project it my way.
Get irritated if like somebody comes and disrupts me. Like, so if there's a video I'm watching, my dopamine hit. You are affecting my hit right now. Oh. So it was basically saying the iPads, they do the same thing, right? They just have ding, 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 ding going on in your brain. And it's the same, like that's exactly the chemical that's released for a drug addict or any kind of addict you can think of, right? It's that chemical. Right. So the person's not actually addicted to the substance or whatever it is they're addicted to. They're addicted to the dopamine. So you might be addicted to something, guys, and your brain is getting some serious dopamine from that thing. Right.
We'll
talk about chocolate next week. Eh? Make sure you're signed in for that one to find out how chocolate can wreck your life.
First hand
information. Lived experience.
We have to have a specialist come and deliver.
The doctor.
The people in
or the Dario from Colombia literally had to come and live
all the way flown in from Colombia
to come and help me with my chocolate addiction.
Anyway.
So we noticed taking away the iPad from my cassette has
Thanks for remembering that.
Hugely. I'm the one who stays on track in these conversations. If we let Mark talk, he'll be talking about the Ice Age next thing.
All in context, though. All
right.
in context.
How is this linked to? Right.
All in context.
So yeah, he's. I feel like it's now starting to balance out. On the first day when we took it away, he was like, Like, where's my hit? The next day was a little bit better. The next day better. Today it was like so calm. Came home from school and he started playing. And his imagination started working again, because he was like, I don't know, he'd been using the toilet and then he'd seen these like empty toilet rolls and he's like, oh, Mom, keep those. I can make binoculars with them. Guys, this is a moment to celebrate, because I'm like, I haven't seen that imagination in such a long time, because we've just been like pacifying him with the iPad, because it's like, okay, I'm sorting Rhea out, or Rhea's poorly, or this is happening, cooking, blah, blah, blah. Okay, just get your iPad. It's an easy fix. It's a quick fix, but it's not a long-term thing, guys. It doesn't help you in the long run. It actually makes things worse, because then the behavior just flares up and it's just like, why is my kid doing this? Your kid is doing that because it's constantly on a device. And when you take the device away, it's just mayhem.
So what Bethel's talking about is the change that comes with taking away the iPad.
Oh.
See, it's all linked.
Yes.
It's all connected.
Initially,
of course, it needed me to kind of just...
But yeah, that's the change. And it's been positive. Initially, it was hard. It was really hard to come home and have nothing for him to do, because it would just be like, go on your iPad. But now it's like, actually, you can help me cooking, or you can play. You can just come up with something.
I think it's really interesting here. What we'd be talking about, which is something I'm learning at uni at the moment, which is about and I touched on this at the beginning, about the parent system, subsystem, if you like, where we're talking about when you've got a lot more structure in the home, it's easier for everybody to follow through. So what Beth has just been talking about, where there's a lot more structure with my cassette, because the iPad doesn't really give him any structure. It just gives him autonomy to do whatever he wants for the next 6 hours. And all he gets is that dopamine.
And we did try and do, I know probably some of you are thinking, oh, why didn't you put settings on? We did.
Yeah, books to read. And
we put
games
settings on, and then when it switched off, he's like, no, it's switched off because it's time up.
But I think probably the most difficult change to deal with is internal change, where you're not aware of what's going on. So, for example, where we might be going through change separately, it's important to have a way of being able to actually communicate that. Because if something's taken place with Bethel that I'm not aware of, I might not be privy to.
Like last night, yesterday morning, I started feeling down yesterday morning. It's just a woman thing, guys. Sometimes she just monthly cycles.
I didn't say, is it a girl thing? Imagine I said, is it a girl things?
And then Mark was like, is everything all right? And the thing is, because there's like nothing wrong. Like, when you look into your life, right? Everything's actually going really well in my life right now. So I can't be like, this thing is wrong. But it's just that hormonal thing, and you're just like, So he's like, is everything okay? And I was like, yeah, it's fine.
It's
fine.
Are you sure?
Leave me alone. I said, fine. But then this morning was the same, wasn't it? And then I did communicate with you. Remember, I sent you the voice note. Did you listen to it?
Oh, it was a voice note, yeah. So I was working, I got this voice note on my phone.
Did you listen to it?
And I was like, oh, should I listen to that?
Here's me thinking you actually knew how I was feeling this whole day. You must have listened to it, because you behaved in a way that you would if you
behaved in a way, an amicable way. So.
You behaved in a way he was supportive and kind. So I thought,
of course I did.
And then you text me saying, oh, I hope you're going to be okay.
Of course I didn't listen to it. The long and short of it, I did listen to it.
Honestly, guys, seriously. But yeah, I feel like it's been 45 minutes now, and we're really only supposed to be on here for 30 minutes, guys. But I think initially the first 15 minutes, if you were there on the first 15 minutes, skip the video, was just us sorting out tech and stuff like that. Now we kind of figured it out. So the reason why we are broadcasting from Zoom is because we don't have 1,000 subscribers yet, and YouTube only lets you broadcast directly from YouTube when you have 1,000 subscribers.
From Zoom. Oh, from YouTube.
Yeah,
okay.
from YouTube. So we have to log into Zoom, then broadcast it from Zoom to YouTube, and that's the only way we can do it at the moment. So it makes it a little bit more technical, because there's just loads of computers and stuff everywhere. But if you're watching and you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe, because when you subscribe, it helps us grow and reach 1,000 subscribers. That's our next goal.
Well, more importantly, it helps you.
It helps you grow.
Ways of how to cope with all of this change that we talked about.
I was going to say, before you jumped in.
Oh, okay, get in there, Bethel.
I was going to say, the reason we would like to meet 1,000 subscribers is that YouTube has a lot of settings that we can't access until we have 1,000 subscribers. So for example, the live setting. And we were so excited to reach the 500 because then we got the community tab, which is where we can post things. I think you might have seen us posting something sometimes. And you can also answer like polls or questions or leave questions or comments on the community tab as well. So that is, and that's only available on desktop because I don't think you can see it if you're watching our channel from YouTube, from WhatsApp, sorry. So it does give us a lot more things that we can do for you guys. So it's not just, oh, give us 1,000 subscribers, because honestly, this is for you guys. And the reason we keep going is because you guys give us the feedback and say, guys, this is really helping me. Could you do a video about this? Could you do a video about that? So that would really help. If anything,
over time, over eons of years, mankind has developed because they've been able to learn from their predecessors. They've been able to learn from, you know, these oracles. You know, you've got in the scientific world the Stoics.
Now you're going to call us oracles.
You got the Stoics. Yeah. You got the Stoics, you got the Platos, you got the different, you know, schools of thought. You know, and they've passed down that wisdom throughout the generations. And I think, if anything, that's a part of what we're trying to do.
I think we're just trying to share our lived experience. Like, you know, I am a social worker by trade. For those of you who are watching for the first time and don't know us personally, I am a social worker by trade. So I do work with children and families, and you know, we've studied about healthy relationships and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't mean that I'm able to apply every single principle I know to my own situation.
The family's like, don't social work me.
Literally, like, you social working me. But yeah, so that's my qualification. I also have a master's in drama as well, and like, you don't have your own. Anywho, but before I became a social worker, I was using that to work with people and do projects to help people through change, right? And to develop changes in themselves that they needed to grow and adapt and become better. And yeah, so that's hence why this channel is like, we just love it. It's our passion. And Mark is training to be a systemic family therapist, which we'll also talk about in one of our upcoming live sessions. I
was just going to add that, you know, some of the, I guess, profound work that you've done has been in the youth justice system.
Working with young people who've offended. Not only that, so there's been so much, but anyway, we're not talking about that.
I know, it's the change.
Change. So guys, thank you so much if you've been watching. And if you have any questions, if you have our private number and you're watching this later on, so you're not watching it live, but you're watching it after, send us some questions. If there's any questions that arose for you and you want any clarification, we're always happy to clarify things. And thank you so much for watching, guys. This has kind of been a nice experience. And the best thing is to know that we don't have to edit this video.
I can go to sleep without anything bothering me tonight.
And it's bedtime, guys. Literally, after this video, I'm literally going to go and change into my pajamas and go to bed.
I thought you were going to say literally again. I am literally going to change into my little
like
pajamas.
Gifts, you just have like literally. Just imagine gifts, guys. Imagine the gifts. Okay. But you're going to give us the song, Mark. Get your guitar out and give us a song.
I've got my guitar at the moment, but I will get my guitar for the next time. Because the kids are sleeping and I can't be playing loud music.
You can play the guitar. It's not going to be loud.
Yeah, but that's going to be for next time.
Next time.
If anything, I think the question that I had, you know, for the people out there who are watching is, how do you cope with change? You know, when you're experiencing significant change, how is it that you deal with that? Because for me, I read. You know, if I've got any knowledge gaps that I've got, then I read to try and get better understanding of how I can cope. And if it's just a case of, I don't know, sometimes it's about effort, you know, just pouring out yourself more. And then what I do is tap into myself more and see how I can, you know, push myself to that beyond the limits, just give a bit more of myself. For example, when you're dealing with Micah Seth or your children, it requires a lot more emotional investment. And it's about me as a parent or as an adult being able to tap into that space and really come down to their level and push myself out and actually.
But I hear you on that, but I also feel there's also the point of like, you have to make sure that you're okay first. Like when you say push yourself out, I feel like.
Oh, no. What I meant is, so with every human being, there's a level of ego that stands in the way of you actually being able to
push your personality,
approach
like, push that.
the situation with it in a humble yet authentic way, where you're willing to learn if you're wrong. For example, I've got an approach that I think is right for my children, but that doesn't mean that is the best approach. Not from his point of view, but from a parenting point of view.
Yeah.
Where it's like, could I have done this better? And so I'm taking out that ego of actually, I know it all. And so, but instead I'm willing to learn. But from what I know, this is how I'm going to give my all to the situation so that I can improve.
Yeah, and that's true. And for me today, I kind of did that, right? So my morning started crazy. Did
you say that again?
But then when the kids went, I just went to bed. I was like, no, I'm going to sleep because I need to sleep. I'm tired. When I woke up, I felt so much better. I also spoke to one of my friends. She's a doctor and she's awesome. And she always helps me. So I spoke to her and then I sent the same voice note to you to just share what I was feeling, because sometimes if you don't share it.
A doctor. But anyway, you can
get a friend who's a doctor, guys. It helps.
It does.
I just felt like I'd shared the load, and a problem shared is a problem halved, right? That's the quote. So I felt like, okay, I've spoken to people about how I'm feeling, so I'm not alone. I'm not isolated in this feeling. And then I went to sleep, and then I was like, I know I'm going to feel better when I wake up. I don't feel great now, but I know because I'm tired. My brain is thinking irrationally right now, and I need to just get some sleep so that I can go back to my rational mind. So when I woke up, I was actually much better. And then I said, the other thing that really makes me happy is going for a walk. After I picked up Rhea, she was tired, put her for a nap, and then I was like, thank God Mark is working at home right now. So I was like, look, I need to go for a walk. And he was like, go.
And I'm trying to clean up and stuff. I was like, sorry, just go out the door.
Go.
Yeah.
So I went for the walk, and honestly I felt so much better when I came back. And then I said to myself, oh, should I go pick up Michael quickly? Then I said, no, I've got about 5 or 10 minutes. Let me feed myself. Because that's another thing. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, guys. Like, how are you going to be doing some self-actualization when you haven't even fed yourself? Like, you don't even have energy to move. So I was like, I've just done a 40-minute walk. 40-minute walk, guys. Oh, I'm enjoying my walking. It started very small, but it's going big. Anyway, we'll talk about health next week. Right. So I fed myself. I stopped. And I was like, eat something, woman. So I ate food. And I was like, you know why? I need to prepare my mind for Micah Seth. When I get to him, he's going to be high energy. He's probably going to be running around, which is exactly what happened. But because I'd eaten, I'd had my walk, I'd had my sleep, I was ready. And I was calm.
What's that quote about planning? Prepare.
Plan. Fail to prepare.
And prepare to fail.
And prepare to fail. We'll end on that note, guys. Fail to prepare. Prepare to fail. So if you haven't had kids yet, guys, you want to prepare for it. If you're going into number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, some people are number 17. Don't ask me how they're doing it, but guys, wow. Yeah.
In the words of Scar, and in a good musical note, if this was a video where we've actually recorded it in advance, I'll play this at the end and say, be prepared. Be prepared.
Okay, guys, we love you as always.
Oh, that's from The Lion King, by the way, because some people are going, Scar. Who's Scar?
Who's Scar?
That's from The Lion King, the new one, not the old one.
Not Scarface. Is there something called Scarface?
No. No, Scar. This is Lion King for the kids. Goodness me.
I know it's from Lion King. I'm saying, is there something called Scarface?
Yeah, there is, but wrong show. Yeah. Anyway.
I've not watched Scarface, guys, but I just know that people talk about it. Anyway, see you later. Good night.